Hello, everybody. We are live on Twitch. I'm Chris, and that's Eric. How
Hey,
are you?
hey.
How are you, buddy?
I'm pretty good. I found out that if you like curse within the first 30 seconds of a video on YouTube, they demonetize you.
Oh, God, here
Did
we
you
go.
know that?
Hang on. Wait, you said 30 minutes or seconds?
30 seconds.
31, 32. Do it for safety.
You know,
35,
I always thought that was
36.
kind of fucked up.
All right, 37 seconds in a row.
Yeah, in a
I
row.
I
Yeah.
might let that slide. We'll see.
Okay, that's it. Now,
To
you can
to
still
be
have
fair,
you can still have a PG-13 rating with one.
yeah. To be fair, I like how I set you up for failure there because you were in the middle of drinking.
To be fair,
There it is. Um, we don't have anything monetized,
yeah,
so what are we gonna lose? And
that's
your
true.
cat wants out.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I'm doing something,
That's how it works,
they
right?
stayed there all day, not giving a shit. And the moment I start to record,
We're live, pal. No choice here.
here you go.
Yeah, let the kitties out. Let them out.
Okay, that's one.
From HH2 News, sup nerds. Well, sup with you.
Check out the shirt.
I know, it's a gorgeous shirt. I'm so jealous. Super Famicom, baby. Do you know why it's called Famicom?
It's supposed to be the family entertainment, whatever.
Family
I can't
computer,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah, and then it was the super version.
Yeah. I actually kind of like the term Famicom. That would have worked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy we got Nintendo.
Which is just the company that made it, so.
But yeah,
Those Americans will never be able to understand Famicom. Just
right.
call it Nintendo.
They don't believe in family.
What part of America are we talking about here?
Meanwhile, Vin Diesel somewhere.
You know, family is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's not making a good ride based on your movie franchise at Universal Studios. Thankfully, I will
in his
not.
defense, he didn't make it.
I know. He's just in it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I already did it, so I never have to do it again.
Was it that bad?
Oh, God, dude. It's the worst ride I've ever been on. It was worse than Stitch.
No.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
nothing's worse than Stitch.
Okay.
You're exaggerating.
For
now.
me personally, it was worse than Stitch. Maybe people are going to have a different opinion, but Disaster was my baby, dude. That was my ride. That's how I started working at Universal. That's what got
Okay.
me to Harry Potter. That's what got me to
You
the
dislike it for the reason that it replaced something you love, which I completely understand.
yes.
Because I love the Great Movie Ride, and whatever they put in there is not going to compare, regardless of
Right.
what it could have been.
But it could still be a good ride. I loved the Back to the Future ride. And the only reason I'm okay with the Simpsons ride existing in its place is because it's based on my favorite TV show of all time.
Yeah, and it's basically the same ride.
Not really. It's not.
I mean,
but
they couldn't move the machines out.
but they didn't attempt to make this a good ride. They just granted, yes, they had limited resources, but they could have just gutted everything and built a whole new ride in its place. I mean, that's what they did with Jaws when they built Diagon Alley. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility. That's what
fair.
they did with King Kong when they put Mummy in.
I mean, do you remember the Hanna-Barbera ride?
Of course I do. That was my ride.
And then Jimmy Neutron immediately after,
Jimmy Neutron and now Minions.
which was I completely forgot it got changed to Minions.
Yeah, it's
Well,
Minions.
shit, never mind. I can't even make the judgment. I was gonna say the next time you jump on Jimmy Neutron, it's the exact same movements. Added the chicken dance at the end. That's it.
That was actually why I like the Minions ride better, because that chicken dance part gets me nauseated as hell.
Yeah, because it's so fucking violent. It's so violent.
Yes, HH2 News, you are correct. Stitch was a reskin of the Alien Escape.
Yeah,
And
bad.
the thing is, that was a terrifying ride, and it was so cool that Disney had a terrifying ride, an
Yeah,
actual terrifying ride.
I feel like, okay, so I know you're a big horror movie fan, and not because they like are actually scary. Some of them are. Some of them have like that actual horror element to it.
Alien is scary.
Alien is fucking terrifying. The
Alien is
idea
terrifying.
of Alien is fucking
That's why I
terrifying.
love it, though.
But
You know what?
I believe you can get more horror out of like physical locations, like these rides and video games in general, than you can from a movie.
Absolutely. I agree with that because the ride is immersive. You're actually there. That's the selling point there. And I 100% agree with the video game concept because you're much more invested in the game than you would be in a movie. In a movie, you can turn it off. You can look away. You can, do whatever. You can shield your eyes. You can fast forward it. In a video game, you don't have those options. Whatever's around that corner, you need to keep going forward or you're turning the game off. That's the only option.
I think it's also because there's a level of control, right? So like you're watching a movie, you have no control over the pacing of the movie. If a jump scare happens, yeah, you'll probably get like freaked out, right? But like,
right.
There's no, whatever they're gonna do, they're gonna do. It's gonna happen regardless. Matter of fact, you can watch the same movie again, and nothing's gonna change because that's how movies work.
Right.
But video games, like you have control over that character. You're invested, so your mind has this set that like you are this character, and you don't want anything bad to happen to this character. And then the moment you see like a velociraptor escape, you're just like, well, fuck. I'm kind of fucked. Oh, I'm sorry. I cursed 2 more times.
Depends on how well armed your character is. What kind of game are we talking about here? Is it one of those
games? Crisis.
Dino Crisis. There it is. We just had that discussion last week.
Yeah,
no, I agree with that. The control aspect, to me, it's all about the immersion, right? You're more immersed in a video game than you are in a movie because you're controlling that character. Mm-hmm. So you have to be more conscious to the environment. You're not watching a linear story. Nobody's telling you which part of the story to watch. Like, in a movie, every shot is framed on something. Even in a horror movie, when stuff's happening in the background, it's subverting your attention because the framing... If I wanted to put the camera on you, Eric, you're in the foreground here. You're part of the shot of the movie, whatever you're doing in the movie. And behind you where the kitty is... That's the monster, whatever, that's stalking you, which, as a cat owner, that's not too far-fetched from real life.
No, it's pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate, exactly. They're fortunately not, like, crawling across the ceiling or anything, like in Hereditary. Because, fuck that scene. Just like, he's out of bed and he's looking around and you just see across the side, and I literally groaned out loud and went, because I knew where we were going with that. But that's just it. It's all about the framework. Yeah, something happened in the background and it caught your attention, but you didn't quite catch what it was because you weren't looking there. In a game, you're looking all over the place. You can control exactly where you're going to look. So if you don't look where you need to look and you turn around,
so
yeah.
I have this theory that I think you might agree with. I believe video games give you a more sense of immersion and have better storytelling for world development. And I'm just gonna say, you play a game long enough, you memorize. You don't even have to open the map anymore. It's like you're part of that world. And the world itself just is so immersive. But the storytelling, if you really want like the character development part, I feel like that is better told on screen rather than playing. So like, for instance, I would 1000% enjoy the world of Game of Thrones in a video game. I feel like the lore, I can get more out of it playing a video game actually visiting these locations and doing things, but I could never get that same amount of character development from like Hodor or anybody really like they did in the show.
I agree. And I think a lot of it has to do with um well, let's just use another example because HH2 News just brought this up. He said, "I know GTA maps more than I do the area I actually live in," which is hysterical. Um,
That's funny.
so
And
let's
which GTA map?
r-
Right, unless it's just all of them.
it's all of them exactly. So let's take GTA as the example here, because specifically 4 and 5 have some of the best characters in the game: Nico, Roman, and then you have Michael, Franklin, and Trevor. In fact, I would even argue that Five's characters were better than Four's characters, despite the fact that Four is the better game overall than Five.
Well, you know why, right? Because
Because
their time on screen where you learn more about them were cutscenes than they were actual gameplay.
right, right. So let's take that as an example here. So yeah, the world building would be much more interesting in the video game because you can explore. It's an exploration game. It's what's encouraging the game. The exploration aspect. Hell, one of the achievements or trophies or whatever you call it is to uncover the whole map. That's one of the things. Is once you've uncovered the whole map, you get an achievement for it. But as far as character development goes, while there is a lot of character development there, imagine those characters in a movie or a television show environment. Yeah, I think you are going to get more out of them because you're not just going to always be focused on the one. And that was a good point, a perfect example for something like Game of Thrones. In a video game, you're only controlling one character, generally speaking. Like, yeah, GTA, you got multiple, but you're kind of following that one character around. So there isn't a lot of time for other characters to develop because you're not spending a lot of time with them off screen. In a world like Game of Thrones, where there are so many central characters and you don't have a choice but to switch around, yeah, we're going to get to meet all these different characters and see more of their points of view. We're spending time with Daenerys over as she's trying to become basically the this benevolent ruler that she wants to be while she's making mistakes. And while we're with her, we're seeing character development from Grey Worm going from a nameless Unsullied to an actual character, Jorah and his crush that almost gets him killed, the ultimate friend zone, and all that other stuff. But then we're going to cut back and we're going to visit Jon up at the wall. And now we've got Sam and we've got Tormund and we've got Brienne. We have Jaime and Cersei. Like, look at all these characters, but now look at all those worlds. How many different areas did we explore in Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
And how much of it could you explore if you were controlling a central character?
Well, to piggyback off of that, I agree that in a video game, when you make a decision for a character, you're not learning anything about the character because you made that decision. That's
Right.
your decision. That you didn't see any of the characters like investment in making that decision.
Right.
So,
Especially like a Skyrim or a Mass Effect where you have multiple choices and you can kind of control which direction your character goes in.
yeah, like Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventures. We're going back to Goosebumps. Like, we're just making this full circle. I feel like we've been talking on this, but like you're making these choices, but I didn't feel that connected to any of those characters in those stories because I'm like, well, I made that choice. That character didn't make that choice. I'm not like learning anything from this. Of like, I'm not learning
Yeah.
anything important about these characters.
Come to think of it, I don't think any of those characters were named either. I think that was the point, was you were supposed to be sort of
That
immersing yourself in there. So yeah,
you might be
that's a good
right.
point because I think it really was choose your own adventure. You're not Evan from Monster Blood. You're Eric
Yeah.
from Florida.
Which that's a scary thought on its own.
Okay, Florida man.
But like,
I know you've
could
never
you
been
imagine
Florida
if
man,
you were
but
playing Lord of the Rings games and your options were to like go straight to um shit, what's the name of the main city?
Gondor.
No, 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 no.
Rohan?
Imagine choosing to either go north to go see your bastard son, or going to that wedding, the
So
red
you said
wedding.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's it, Lord of the Rings. I meant
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. They can be confused. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
Gondor? Rohan? Mordor? We're going to Mordor now? So as opposed to going to, so we're back in Westeros. So
Yeah.
we could go to King's Landing, where Cersei
Yeah.
is. That's the capital, or Joffrey,
King's
or
Landing. You can go to King's Landing, or you can
we
go
can
to
go to
that
we can go to
to.
Winterfell, where the Starks are.
Well, I'm talking about if you were the mother, right? Of
Okay, I see what you're getting at. Yeah,
Yeah, if you were the mother
you can go to the
and you made
fray
the
and
decision,
attend the wedding and
yeah,
tell Rob
and
this
then
is
that
not going
happened.
to end badly. One cannot simply walk into King's Landing is in the comments right now. Fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. I mean, hell, that Hogwarts Legacy game that's coming out, the whole point is you're not playing as Harry, you're playing as yourself.
I
So
think that's gonna be cool too.
there, right, but there won't be any character development in that game. But what there will be is an exploration of Hogwarts Castle,
Hmm.
like you've
Which
never
there
seen before.
can be lore increasing, but it's all done by environment, right?
Right,
Like you might learn something about like one of the teachers there or other characters, but it's not going to be the main character.
right.
It's never going to be the main character.
And this is a good way to bring this full circle because as part of the PlayStation Plus subscription and with October around the corner, I just downloaded Days Gone and The Last of Us, both of which I've never played before. So that's going to
I
be
take it back. Last of Us is fucking phenomenal.
there you go. And I know but I was going to ask you, those are Last of Us specifically is very character driven.
Yes, but again, all the character-driven parts of that game are cutscenes.
Right.
It's a film. It's being cinematically told to you. So
Right.
you could just make a movie and have the same
Well,
effect.
apparently they're doing that, so
It's not going to be as good. It's not going to be as good as the game.
Did you see the Uncharted movie?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
But you
I
still
did.
prefer the game?
Never played the game.
Okay, well then you don't have anything to compare it to.
So this is something that I actually talked to Matt about, and I realized that it has to be true, because if you enjoyed something in one medium and then they try to redo it in a different medium, you're not going to enjoy it as much as the first because of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Regardless of when it happened or when it occurred, you're always going to like the first version of whatever it is rather than a remake.
That's a good point. I'm trying to think like of specific things that I've seen. Now, granted, we kind of talked about this with fantastic remasters. Sometimes in video games, obviously that's not the case. I thought that the DuckTales remastered game and the Link's Awakening remastered games were phenomenal, but
Right, but they're not retellings of it. They're literally, if you look at
true.
them, they're like one for one copies, just really updated graphics. And in Zelda's case, ridiculously upgraded graphics.
Well,
But
from
it's the
Game
same
Boy
game.
to current gen.
Right.
So yeah.
Or even talking about just that Zelda game, when it went from black and white to color, it was the same game.
Right.
They added what one thing to it.
They added a dungeon and they added the photos.
Yeah, the photos. That's what I was thinking about. I forgot about the dungeon. But like when when they went from the color to the Switch game, it's the same game.
Right.
It's just better graphics.
There's tweaks, but it's the same game.
Right. Rather than like Final Fantasy VII remake, right? Both games are phenomenal, but I remember the original more than I remember the remake, and that's just because nostalgia. If you were to go back in time, my first time encountering the X-Men was the animated series.
Yep. Same.
So when I saw Wolverine wearing his brown,
You
which
didn't
is
like
like original like the original Wolverine stuff, I was like, the fuck is this? Because I'm used to the yellow, the
Right.
black and yellow. So to me, I'm just like, no, even though like the brown or whatever is his original costume, I'm like, nah.
Well, that kind of reminds me of when the second Ninja Turtles cartoon came out in the late '90s, and I didn't like the look of the turtles, even though it was actually more accurate to the original comic books, both in look, storytelling, some of the characters, and everything. But I was thinking about my nostalgia and what I liked, and that wasn't what I liked. So,
Do you want to know something that I literally learned like a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago?
about
It's
Ninja
gonna blow your
Turtles.
mind about
Okay.
the Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Did you know that it's a spoof off of Daredevil?
No. Explain.
Okay, so in Daredevil, um, they fight this organization called the Hand.
Yeah.
Ninja
And they're
Turtles, they
the
fight the Foot.
foot. Oh God. Okay.
You're seeing it right now, aren't you?
Okay.
The teacher was called Styx.
Oh my God. Okay.
Master Splinter.
Okay. What else? There's got to be more. That
There's
can't be all of it.
there's a lot more, but I can't think of them all. But like literally, those are the big ones. And I was just like, "You sons of bitches!" But yeah, no, they took a spoof off of it, and it did so well. And I'm just like, "Oh my god, I cannot."
Oh, look at this. The same crash and ooze that made Matt Murdock blind is what ended up on the Turtles and Splinter. Well, there you go. Yeah, he got the worst end of the deal. Those turtles got to become anthropomorphized. Matt Murdock went blind.
I think he's got the best blindness condition ever, though.
Yeah, he's a lawyer who kicks ass.
He's a lawyer that kicks ass with echolocation.
The lawyer from Jurassic Park can't say that.
He can't say anything. He's dead.
Yeah. He survives the original book. He's actually kind of a better character, but
Look at that. We're now a knowledge show. We just taught you something if you didn't know.
are we?
But it sounds like Dan already knew.
Are,
So
are we? Are we that knowledgeable? Okay. Um all right, so since we are talking about video games, Eric,
mm-hmm.
you know where I'm going with this, but why don't you tell the folks out there?
Yes. So I can make this announcement, but I can't tell you what events or locations, so I will not answer those.
To be fair, he doesn't know.
To be fair, I don't know who is going to be there. I definitely know the location, but I can't say. I've been working on some esports stuff. I've been um, hired on because of the tech stuff to help set up for some esports events and locations, and like training stuff,
That's awesome.
which is fucking phenomenal. It's the dream, and to have that on my fucking resume now is amazing.
That's awesome.
So, yes, but that is why at least a lot of the Saturdays, not that I've been doing much anything on Saturdays, but I just need to unwind. Like I've been like there's some days I don't get home until like it's time for me to go to bed. Like I'll eat something, I'll come home, I'm just like, all right, time to do this again tomorrow. And it honestly has not been that way since I left Disney. And I'm now just like, how the fuck did I ever do this?
You know why you're doing this better though? Because it's more something you want to do and it's way more money.
That is true.
That's why. No, that's exactly why. Let's be completely honest here.
But yeah, like I just feel like I don't understand how I ever had the energy to do that at Disney 5 days a week.
Yeah, well, that was like when the warehouse was really kicking my ass. You know, those 12-hour shifts where like 8:30 in the morning, and then I'm not getting home until practically 8:30 at night, and I'm like, I'm so dead. I'm so dead. And then we discuss it, be like, well, it's no different than when you did at Disney. I'm like, well, it's actually way more physical than what I did at Disney. but I keep going back for a very important reason. I'm getting paid significantly more to do that. Um, Also, because we were in our 20s. That's a good point. That is a good
Yeah.
point. But still, it really does help. I'm not trying to sound greedy about this, but it really does help when you're being paid to do something that you like. You will put in a lot more time and effort into it, and even though you're exhausted, you'll still go back and keep doing it because you're loving it.
So it's funny that you mentioned that because there was one thing that we were dealing. We were setting up displays. I don't know if I can mention.
Well, don't mention anything you're uncomfortable mentioning.
No. I just don't know if we're allowed to mention the manufacturers of these
Well,
displays.
don't worry about it. Just
Okay.
you're setting up
So
displays.
right. So we were setting up displays, and some of them were doing these 120 hertz displays, and I'm just like, cool. And I'm just like, why are you guys going with that display rather than this display? And they're just like, what do you mean? Like, well, this display costs the same amount, but you're getting a better refresh rate, and it's an IPS rather than not IPS. It's a TN panel, which honestly, if you're doing competitive things, you're not looking for color accuracy, but the TN panels fucking change pixels like it's nobody's business. So like it'll actually be able to keep up with the refresh rate rather than this IPS, which is going to look great, but it may not keep up with whatever high intensity games they may be playing. And they're just like, oh, that's not a bad thought. And they actually, and I was just saying that just to shoot shit and talk and get to know people. I came back like not the next day because I took a couple of days, but when I came back, they were all new monitors, the exact same monitor that I had mentioned. Like they had literally packed up the other monitors, sent them off to who knows where. I probably should have just taken one, and then and all these had these brand new monitors. They're just like, okay, we're setting these up now, and I'm just like, great, I made more work for us, yay! But they listened to me. It was fucking great. It was great.
But here's the thing:
So
is is it really gonna be a bad thing to have some more work if it means that everything looks so much better in the end?
no, I literally thought of it in this point of view. The people who are currently setting up these events are not fans. They don't know. They are event planners.
Right.
So they do not know the gear.
Right.
I was there originally to help set up LAN connections and like just I was wiring Ethernet cables, really. Like,
Okay.
let's be honest, just running Ethernet cables and making sure that everything was running smoothly so they could actually have these connections. And then I just kind of like kept going and doing extra stuff. But like these event planners had no idea. They just like, oh, we have these monitors that we can borrow. There's this many because you don't need a whole lot, right? You need
No.
enough for your team on one side, enough for the team on the other side, and a few extras in case. And I was just like, yeah, they're good. They're great for you and I, right? But like a professional gamer who's playing, I can tell you what sport's not going to be there.
Can you?
No, I can't.
Quidditch.
No. Hold on.
Quidditch.
I'm pretty sure.
Make up a sport. Dodgeball.
Sure, we'll make up a sport. Let's say Quidditch, right, where you need to like aim down sights for whatever reason. Aiming down sights, if you have one person with a 2 millisecond delay and one person with a 14 millisecond delay, literally less than a second, but there's still an advantage to having a 2 millisecond delay versus a 14 millisecond delay. Even though I know for a fact I couldn't fucking tell. But again, I'm not in my 20s anymore, so who gives a shit?
You know what's funny is like how cool would all this technology have been if we were still in our 20s?
I don't know if we would actually appreciate them until it's too late. Think about like all the stuff that we had that we look back now and just really appreciated it but we wish we were in this generation. And this is the same thing's going to happen to the current generation. They're going
I
to be like,
remember how
oh man,
fascinated I
like,
was to get an MP3 player. Like, holy crap,
right? I
this
mean,
is the
I picked the
coolest
wrong
thing
one.
ever.
I
Yeah,
picked Zune, but
I. Everybody's always like, "Oh, did you have an iPod or a Zune?" And I said, "I had neither. I had a Dell DJ,
nice. A generic MP3 player.
made by
I
Dell." That was the
Well, you
first
know why I
mistake.
picked Zune? This was my mistake. I picked Zune because at the time you could use it with whatever device. You didn't need to buy stuff from like the Apple
iTunes.
Play Store or
Yeah.
iTunes, whatever they were
Yep.
calling it. So I was just like, yeah, no, fuck this. I can down my stuff from LimeWire or Napster or wherever because that whole
Kazaa.
fiasco. Yeah, because that shit didn't happen yet. Put it on this. It will look for the artwork for me.
Hmm.
So I'm just
That was
like, dude,
actually
this is
pretty
so
cool.
fucking cool.
That was actually
Exactly.
pretty cool.
And then or I can get this one thing where I'm locked into an ecosystem that if I'm not nearby a computer, and plus iTunes on Windows was so shit back in the day. Back in the day, it's still shit now.
Yeah. Time out a second.
Yeah,
Let's be
it's
honest
still
here.
shit now.
They don't
But
sponsor us.
if you have a Mac, they're fine. I just couldn't.
iTunes has never been a fun program to work with. I've always hated iTunes.
But this generation, I feel like it's going to be the same. So, like Mike, like Mark Zuckerberg, right, is trying to make like the metaverse, and yeah, it sounds silly, but if you take what he's saying and it does come like true, where like we can just visit each other at virtual houses, playing virtual games and stuff like that, that sounds fucking awesome, dude.
The Oasis. Ready Player One.
It literally the Oasis.
That's what I'm sure that's what they're gonna eventually aim for, to create something like that in real life. That's
And
the
then that
direction we're going in.
then this generation is going to be like, man, I remember when it was just simple VR, and now they have the metaverse and stuff like that. It's just constant things. And VR has been taking off too,
Think
which
about.
I bought a VR headset.
Yes, you did,
Good segue. I'll let you know as soon as I get it.
and you're getting the Rick and Morty game.
I am.
So
I'm getting 2 games right off the bat. The Rick and Morty is one of them, and Beat Saber's the other.
yeah, I kind of
Because
want to
I
play
need
Beat
it.
Saber.
Yeah.
This looks like so much fun, especially
I mean,
all the custom stuff people put in there. Like I was watching the video of the guy playing it to Kyle's Mom's a Bitch, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty funny. I must say,
well,
not our friend Kyle.
I guess now that we're kind of on it, we can jump back off. But I want to tell you the reason why I'm getting one. And it's not for the VR purposes. So I was talking to my friend about it, and I was just like, man, I remember back in the day, you had these stereo 3D monitors, and you would get these like glasses, and you could watch the games pop out of your monitor. And he chuckles. I'm just like, what? I know they still exist. They're just super expensive and kind of gimmicky and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, no, you can still do that if you wanted to, but like, just buy a VR headset. I'm just like, what? He was like, yeah, dude, it's 2 screens. You don't even have to worry about it. It literally shoots the 3D, and you're no longer popping out from the screen. It literally feels like you're in the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, yeah, but there's not a whole lot of games. He's like, every game that has 3D can be done. And it's just like on top of that, pretty much every single Unreal game has a stereo 3D feature. And he brought one into work, and he put on what did he put on? Fallout New Vegas, which is an older game, looks great, but he had it in 3D, and I just put it up to my face, and I was just like, literally, it was the Fry meme. Just shut up and take my money. And I'm just like, how the fuck did I not know about this? Like, why is this like not a well-known thing? And then he was telling me about stuff. He was just like, yeah, dude, no, he has this thing called EU Emu VR, which is an emulator for like the classic games and stuff like that. Like you can't play those games in 3D, but what you can do is create a 3D room, like your bedroom, right? Put a VR version of a CRT TV and plug in your retro consoles on there and then play your retro games on there. And he's like, you want to know what the best part about that is? You know how if you have Duck Hunt and you put Duck Hunt into a emulator and it doesn't work because you don't have the light gun, you can VR a light gun. And I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. But I'm just like, it's kind of expensive just to play Duck Hunt, but you can do it. And then he was showing me like other games, like you can make it so you can play any game that you have on the PC at a movie theater, like an IMAX movie theater. They make it like the screen is like wrapped around you, so you still have to do like all this just to see edge to edge.
Oh
And if you
God.
do the curvature, like some of the screen curve
Yeah.
monitors,
Yeah.
like if you do that and you do the 3D, it almost feels like you're in the world. Dude, like just a couple of things that he was showing me, I'm just like, this is fucking phenomenal. This is great.
So
So
which one are you getting?
I am
Oculus,
getting
PlayStation.
I am not getting the Oculus, even though the Oculus is the most.
Uh-oh. And I've lost Eric.
Oh! Can
Nope.
you hear me?
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Almost lost you for a
Okay.
second.
All right. So
Live show, people.
Live show. All right. So I'm not getting the Oculus. Nothing wrong with it. I actually really thought about it. The I do a lot of research before I purchase something.
I hope so.
And what I found out is the Oculus is the most affordable and the easiest barrier to entry, right? It's got good resolution and a good field of view. But the problem with it is the data cable that connects to your PC. Now you don't need it connected to the PC, which I did not know about that. The Oculus could run by itself.
Right.
Or you can run it through the PC, but it can run by itself. The one that I got cannot run by itself. It can only run off of the PC.
Okay.
But it uses a better data port or it's not compression. It sends raw data to the VR headset, and then the VR headset displays that information. Now, the way Oculus does it is it uses a USB cable, so it compresses the video image, and then your Oculus decompresses it, so you're not getting that high def like visuals. Honestly, it's not noticeable, but what it came down to is, do I spend $300 on the Oculus and then spend another $100 on the VR like headphones, or do I spend $400 on on this HP Reverb, which is what I got, which already comes with a 3D headphones?
Now, hang
And
on,
I'm just like,
it was $400. It's
yeah, it's
actually
$400.
less than I thought you were gonna say it was. I
No,
thought they were
dude,
more like 700.
No, they start like the Oculus Quest 2 is $300. The HP Reverb, which I got, is $500, but I had they had a 72-hour rush sale when I went on the site. So it's just like, I know this is a trap, but fuck it, I'll buy it. And then if you wanted more than that, they literally go up. They're like $600. They got one for $750. They got one for $1,000. I saw one which is like, what's it called? The Pimax 8K, which is 4K in each eye.
Oh my God.
With a 200 FOV, which is like literally, I think they called it eyesight. Wherever your eyes can see without glasses, that's what you can see. Like literally, just even your peripheral, everything's in sight. And I'm just like, that sounds fucking awesome. The one that I got was like 140.
That's insane, dude.
Which is still more than what my glasses. So I'm just like, whatever. I need to wear my glasses anyway.
Well, yeah, but that's insane, dude. Like 4K in each eye. Like at that point, why even come back to reality?
Right.
like you could just live in your Oculus headset at that point.
And then I never.
I'm telling you, this is literally, where's the book? It's right there on my shelf. This is literally the plot of Ready Player One. This is how we get into this world. This is it.
I I thought about it. If this is true and that like everything is, you can set up everything the way it like Mark Zuckerberg wants you to be able to.
Mhm.
What I'm gonna end up doing is creating a fucking mansion, loading up all my ROMs, getting like a CRT TV,
And then we never
my
saw Eric
entire
again.
collection. I'm going to invite all of you so you could just fucking join in whenever you want, right? But like you just need a VR headset, which you can get for $300. Which that is the thing that bothered me the most. When he brought it in, I was expecting, like you were saying, $750 or up. And then I'm just like, $300. I mean, that's not cheap.
But for
But
what
it's cheap.
for what that is, it is. It's cheaper than a PlayStation 5.
Exactly. I'm just like, get the fuck out of here.
Dude.
I was like living in the past or something. So the way I look at it is like, yes, it's not cheap, but when you already expecting the technology to be $1,000 and then someone says it's $300 and you already in love with it, you're gonna fucking buy it right away.
Well, yeah. Right. Well, and you know me. When I'm buying something with technology, I always go up. Because I always want to get the best version of the thing I'm going to get at that moment. Because I always figure if I get the best version of it now, it won't go obsolete for a longer period of time. That's why, like, when I built this PC, I was getting all the high-end stuff that was available at the time I built the PC.
Well, that's the good thing about these.
It's outdated now because I don't have the money to just go crazy upgrading it. But at the time, I had the best thing I could possibly still reasonably afford. I could have spent more money, but
this is why I spent a little more on the HP versus the Quest 2.
right.
Because the Quest 2 can, like I said, you can play without a PC. Like you could literally take it with you on an aircraft and play Beat Saber if you wanted to. Like it's a standalone product.
What, like on an airplane?
Which is, I mean, I wouldn't do it on an airplane, but yes, if you like, you could take the headset.
I want to see you play Beat Saber on an airplane. Is just start whacking the seat in front of you, and just that won't piss anybody off.
Okay, that's true.
This is filed under bad
like,
ideas.
What I'm saying is, like, you can go to some place where you have some room, right? Let's say like a, I don't know, a mall somewhere, because you know they're all empty now. You can just go to a mall somewhere with no PC and just the headset and play Beat Saber or play these games on a standalone. You can't do that on mine, but mine is more of it's like a monitor, right? Like, yes, you eventually are going to need to upgrade your monitor, but how long does a monitor last you?
All I'm doing right now is picturing some guy in the food court with a headset on, just freaking going like this.
Yeah, and it's gonna look strange for a while until everybody starts.
We're all doing it.
Like, how strange was it while everybody was walking around staring at their phones, and now you're just like, it's just commonplace.
You're not wrong. The people with Bluetooth headsets, it's like, look at that guy with the little glowing blue thing in his ear. Now tons of people
back in the day when you just thought he was just talking to himself and he was fucking nuts.
Depends on which part of the town you're in, I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, which part of Florida were we in at that point?
That was Tall Florida.
I lived in Kissimmee, dude. I lived in Kissimmee. Hold on a second. Let's talk about crazy people talking to themselves. But
yeah, that's still a thing.
All right. Well, yeah, that was the video game portion of the show.
So yeah, back to why I didn't get the Quest. Because it is a standalone device, yes, you can use it as a monitor by itself, but eventually the standalone portion of it's going to be obsolete, and then you're going to have to upgrade. Meanwhile, if I wanted to upgrade because my game's not running smoothly, I upgrade my PC. I don't upgrade the monitor or the display. So it's just the display.
You got the best thing for the value at the price that you wanted to pay for it, basically.
Yes, because that AK is like it was $1,200, and that was just for the headset.
Yeah,
but you could tell I wanted it.
Hey, I've got 8K. This monitor's 4K, and this monitor's 4K. That makes 8, right?
Yeah,
that counts, right?
Mathematically, yes.
Yeah, some nerd in the comments is gonna flame me for that one, but anyway, there's a bug flying around my ring light.
technically that's 6K. Because if you have a 4K and a 4K, the math checks out that it's 8, right? But like you need 4K, 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 4K because you got to multiply it, and that would be. But then that would. No, I guess it would. Hold on. 1080p, 1K, two of those 4K. No, that would be 16K. So no, you got an 8K. Fuck it, never mind. You're good. I'm trying to do the math in my head.
Trying was the key word there.
Yeah.
You're like the most tech savvy person I know that has like no math skills whatsoever.
No, I'm just trying to think of how they worked out the multipliers because it's 1440p is considered 2K.
Dude, you're taking my lame joke and making way too much tech babble.
I know. I'm sorry. Like, it's what I do.
Hold on a second. Time out. All right. So let's talk about something else I wanted to talk about since I just segued us to Florida. My apologies, by the way. I also like that it's now completely black outside my window and you still have sunlight.
Do I? Oh, yeah.
Because the sun sets later in Michigan than it does in Pennsylvania.
It's a little weird, but yes, even though we're like the same time zone, though.
What's weird is that you're in freaking Michigan and we're still in the same time zone. That's actually what's weird. I was convinced that you would be Central Time Zone.
Me too.
You're still Eastern.
But it surprises people.
Isn't there a part of Michigan that's in the...
Nope, our entire state's east.
Well, when you get to Chicago, you're Central. And I know Chicago's not that far away from you.
No, it's 4 hours away from me.
Right, okay. So, yeah, so that's the distance from me to get to, like, Pittsburgh.
But you to Pittsburgh is still the same time zone.
Yes, it is. Which is funny because Pensacola, Florida is in the Central Time Zone.
Wait, what?
Pensacola, Florida is in the Central Time Zone.
Are you sure?
Yes, it is. You know how I know that? Because I drove through it.
God, I gotta look that up.
You don't believe me?
That's true. I do.
I drove it, Eric.
I know you drove. I drove it too. I just don't remember it.
To get from Orlando to New Orleans was a 10-hour road trip, and 7 of it is spent in Florida because you have to go up and over.
That's fucking sad. I would have just went straight to Georgia and be like, now we can turn.
You could technically do that, but you still eventually have to turn left.
Yes, I know, but you'll get out of Florida faster.
Sure. HH2 News in the comments. Drive on the Gulf, be a man. I mean, okay.
I wonder, is there a road that goes around the coast there?
Oh, I'm sure there's
a highway.
I don't know if there's like a coastal highway on Florida like there's in California, but are we going to do another geography lesson on this show? We've done a lot of those.
Maybe.
All right. So the reason I wanted to segue us back to Florida, I started something this week that I'm hopefully going to be very proud of. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I've officially started writing my first book. And I will now, I kind of mentioned this last week that I was going to share the details. And the reason I didn't say anything is because I actually wanted to start it. Now that I've actually started and written stuff down, and I'm actually like proud of myself for that because I am a horrible procrastinator with everything in life, but especially creative projects. Like I don't procrastinate on the important stuff, like stuff for work. I hit deadlines, or I pay all my bills on time, things like that. It's stuff that I shouldn't be procrastinating on because it's supposed to be fun. But for some reason, I procrastinate on that. I don't know why. Something wrong with me. Anyway.
You pay all your bills? That's crazy.
I have an 836 credit score right now. So, and I'm not messing with that because I don't think it can get much higher.
No, you really can't. Dude, just buy your house and then you can say fuck the rest. You don't need it anymore.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Working on it. I've actually been looking at a couple places, but
there you go.
We can have that conversation another time because I found a couple places that I think would be really cool. And then the one place I was really wanted disappeared because every time those go on sale, they vanish immediately because they're in a prime location and they're cheap.
Crack
Sure.
houses?
No. I'm not moving to your area. I know you don't.
Hey, I don't live in Detroit.
You're close. You're very close.
You know what's fucked up? When we lived in Florida, I lived really close to like meth houses. Because if you think of where like Groveland is or Claremont is, it's really
Mm-hmm.
close to Davenport, and you already know what Davenport's known for. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
meth houses over there.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of the same thing. Honestly, it's about the same distance. If you just keep going another 20 miles east, it's crack house.
All right, well, you know what's messed up about Lancaster City? Because Lancaster City is so small and very compact, I think it's only 3 miles from the north end to the south end, actually. It's a very, very small, compact area. So, downtown Lancaster, which is very nice, is only a few blocks away from some of the worst crack houses. You only have to just go this way, turn this way. Oh, okay.
So
It's
you're
a,
only like 4 or 5 blocks away.
yeah, I mean it's a very, very quick turnover. Just the difference between going down Prince Street, up Queen Street, or up Lime Street is because Prince gets bad real fast. North end versus South end. So you hit the South end, it gets really bad really quickly. Queen Street, it's the same thing, but Queen Street goes north, so you leave the bad area, get into the good one. And then Duke Street is actually pretty nice for a nice long period of time, but Lime Street's the next one over, because Duke goes south, Lime goes north. And Lime Street is way worse than Duke Street. And it's almost night and day. Really nice houses on Duke Street, and then you go, down one of those little side streets to Lime is the next major street. You start going north, and you look on the right-hand side, you're like, whoa.
Now,
Roll the windows up, lock the doors.
is it bad because neighborhood bad, or is it bad because city doesn't want to take care of it and it's gone to shit?
50-50 ish. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say 50-50. They're trying very hard in Lancaster to really improve some of those areas. York has given up, so just don't ever go to York. York is the worst. Just don't go there. Like I know that like Reading is trying, Lancaster is trying. York, I think, just gave up. Like that area is just done. There was a really bad area out towards Westchester that I only saw the once when I was learning the delivery route out there. Thankfully, I never went to that area, but I remember the driver that was taking me was just like, "Oh yeah, this is horrible. Like I wish I had a gun when I had to make these stops. Fortunately, you won't be doing this." I'm like, "Yeah, that's awesome. You have fun." And then they sent me to the Berks County SPCA, which is literally over the train tracks and next to two pawn shops and a liquor store. The building is very nice. The area it's located in is not.
I will say I haven't seen a lot of pawn shops here.
Yeah, well, come to Pennsylvania. Come to my area. You'll see plenty. It's so weird because, like I said, that's just like downtown Lancaster and these really bad areas and everything. And then, like, right down the road from me, and again, I'm only 10 minutes north of downtown Lancaster. So, add another 5-minute drive, 15 minutes, I'll be in a really bad area. But if I go 15 minutes through Lidditz, behind where I work, there are houses back there that I think the cheapest house is like $450,000. All the way up to your 1.3, 1.4 million range. And the areas are just so close. You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you would know this because I don't know how often you rode with me when we would leave my parents' house area in Winter Garden. The neighborhood they bought their house in Winter Garden was very nice. I know you've been there before. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
So very nice neighborhood. And then you start going north. You go past the shopping center and everything, and you head up towards where I think it's 50 is the road that goes through Claremont and everything. And then Pine Hills is on the other side.
Oh God, yes, yeah, it's 50.
Yeah. So you're heading up the highway that connects up to 50 out of their neighborhood, a good ways out of the neighborhood, past the shopping center. And you see those really nice Florida neighborhoods with the 2-story homes and the horrible stucco, and they're all yellow, and I hate it. I hate that design so much. Give me Give me Stone Mountain, Georgia, or like North Carolina, or one of those big style homes. These Florida houses just, I don't know. I don't like it. The Spanish tile and the stucco, I don't know.
You know why though? Because they're better in hurricane stuff.
I'm aware of why, but like, that doesn't mean I have to like it.
That's true.
I,
That's true.
I know that they're
I
built for what
appreciate
they need.
condoms, but I don't like it.
Good God. Do not get me banned on YouTube. God's sake,
All
Eric.
right.
That was during the game stream. I remember I was yelling at probably Matt, actually. I was the one I was yelling at. Like, I swear to God, if I get banned on YouTube, because you assholes. Anyway, but yeah, like the difference is night and day, and it reminds me of where I was living in Kissimmee, how there were like these insanely nice neighborhoods and like mansions in the woods, and then you see the rest of Kissimmee and it's trailers. Just
And
trail like, and not like, because this is not a slight against trailer parks in general, because there are trailer parks that are nice by the standard of what they are. They're just people who are looking for that lower income housing. They're not necessarily trailer park trash or anything. These were like real like trailer park trash style people in those places.
so you know what's funny about Kissimmee though, is that there's a lot of those type of locations that you're saying that are hidden off the main road. They throw the nice buildings off of the main highways.
Mm-hmm.
It's once you get off of those highways and you get past those nice buildings, that's where that's where all that is.
Do you remember we were leaving Four Corners? Uh, People who don't live in Florida aren't going to know what I'm talking about, but like we were in the Four Corners area, which is the end of 192 where it connects to 27. I don't remember where we were coming from, but you used to live in those apartments in that area. Or at least you were in an apartment when I last came to visit you in Florida.
Yeah, it's not too far from Four Corners, but yeah, it wasn't too far from them. Yeah.
I don't remember what we were doing or where we were going, but you were in the car with me, and we were driving up towards my parents' house area, and I decided to take the back roads because I know a back road, so I don't have to go through the Disney property because, well, you know what a pain in the ass it is to drive through Disney property.
Yeah.
So we're going back there, and it's like very, very isolated woods, and every vehicle we were passing was a pickup truck. And I remember you're just like, where are you taking me? You're like, you remember I'm Hispanic, right? Like, I'm not the right person to be in this area. And I'm like, Eric, don't worry about it, bud. We're going to be just fine. You're like, no, we're not. You will be, but I will not.
I'm like, don't get me wrong. I look pretty white and I can get away, but I'm an imposter.
There's an imposter among us. So if anybody out there, as we hit we're getting close to the 1 hour mark here, we're going to delve a little bit more into the book. But in the meantime, would anybody like some free life advice from Eric? This is your chance to drop it in the comments, and Eric will give you free life advice. He's always wanted to do this.
I know. I can give. Oh, hold up. Kitty wants to come up and say hi.
Well, Kitty can give life advice too. Has Kitty forgiven you for the vet incident?
Yes. Ah, no. Apparently not.
Nope. The answer is no. My kitty's got a clean bill of health. They are looking good for. They're looking good for 10 years old. So let's keep that momentum going as long as we can. So, as you know, well, Eric, you know this, but we could never write an autobiography about our time working in the infamous parks.
Correct.
We just can't. I believe we had to sign some kind of a non-disclosure thing.
Yeah, there's an NDA out there saying that we can't talk about certain things.
Right. So we can't, and therefore we don't. Specifically for compensation was the thing. Like, I know that obviously there are plenty of people out there who blog about it and talk about their experience and everything. But you can't do it for compensation. We can't publish a book and make money off of working there. You just can't do it. But if I were to write a story, about a guy who went to work at a theme park, and it was a fictionalized retelling of the story. There's no legal implication about that. And the story I've written, or the story I'm in the process of writing, is not accurate to my personal experience. However, there are stories.
It can't be because it's not based off of you.
Exactly. But it's
Right.
also, a lot of the stories are very grossly exaggerated for entertainment purposes. But some things are based on true events and real life situations that went on. So I'm not going to get too much into the world building now because I kind of want you guys to like immerse yourselves in it when I do eventually write the book. But the clever way I got around creating an imaginary park, not associated with any of the other major parks out there, and I'm not even saying the one that we're all thinking of, because really it would be competitor with all the parks that are down there, whether it's mice or wizards or killer whales or brick
Beer.
like toys from Denmark, like like
I forgot about that one.
yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the beer park, which is actually further away than the bricks. But like Florida in general is just a popular place for attractions, so the story's going to take place in Florida, also because it's going to include a hurricane. So it can't take place in, but it's a. So the character's name is Eric.
What?
The character's
Writing a
name
book about me?
No. Now here's what's funny about this. There's actually a story here, and I hope she's watching because Tori, if you are watching, I'm about to tell the story. So, my friend Tori is the reason I did the Disney College program in the first place. So there's a character in the book based on her. It's just his friend in college that makes him go to the meeting about this internship taking place at this park, right? That's inspired from real life. So I'm So how did I name the character Eric? Well, it's actually not named after you. Sorry to break your heart.
I'm sad. It's all right.
It's okay.
I'll get over it.
Yeah. So back in college, I actually wrote a script for a horror movie that never came to be. And the main character's name was actually Eric. So I just wanted to get some traction out of the name. So I pulled that name from the script, and I was like, well, this is funny because the character's name is Eric. Eric's my best friend. Everybody thinks we're the same person anyway.
That is actually true.
So I sent her a message and I said, this is going to be a really random question for you, but what's your best friend's name? And she names like 3 different girls, and she goes, why are you asking? So I kind of explained what I just explained to you. She's like, that's actually pretty funny. So the best friend's character is going to be named after her best friend.
So, do you remember when you, Paul, and I worked at Interventions together and they would get us confused? Like the 3 of us confused all the time.
All the time.
And one day they announced an award to me that should have gone to Paul. and everybody knew that it should have been Paul. But me being the asshole, I was like, thank you, I'll take this. And Paul was like, hey, that's for me.
I was like, talking about. They didn't say Paul.
Yeah, they said my name. I figured it's for me.
My favorite is the day that you forgot your name tag and asked to borrow one of mine. And I was like, before I give this to you, are you planning on doing anything?
Uh-oh.
You're
frozen. You broke up
again.
there.
I didn't break up. You broke up. I'm fine.
You broke up.
No.
I'm fine too.
I'm fine. Yeah, you borrowed my name tag, and I was like, before I give this to you, are you planning on doing anything today that will... You're like, no, what makes you think that? I'm like, because they already confuse us enough as it is. But now, because that was my actual name tag, too. You weren't Chris from Orlando. You were actually Chris from Vernon. I'm like, I'm not. You're not going to do anything negative today. There will be no guest complaints. There will be nothing, no breaking of technology. You're like, I'll be good.
Dude, I
All
think I
defeated.
wore everybody's name tag there at one point. I think I definitely had Paul's at one point. I think our shirts got all greasy or whatever from whatever the fuck they put on the hand things. They didn't clean them up, and we got grease on our shirts, so we had to go to costuming to get a new one. And we forgot to get our name tags off of the old one, so we had to run back. And we found it, and we just took them off, and we just put them back on without looking. I realized I got his, he got mine, and
That's funny.
just like, yeah, that's hilarious. I think at one point I just took Alex's name tag and I just put it on. And then
You know what I
Nolan had a
remember? The magnet name tags, and you used to smack them off of our shirts.
yes.
That's what I remember.
The magnet name tags were the best. So we had these magnet name tags, which most of the time they're just pins, right? You just push them through the shirt and they pop out the other side. But since we had patches that we had to wear for the specific venues that
How
we were
many times
at,
did you rip a patch off of our shirts?
a fucking shit ton because it was funny as hell.
Was it?
It
Maybe
was
for you.
great. Yeah, it was great.
Oh my
Made
god.
my day go by fast.
So this is the part of the podcast where I look for inspirational stories of incidents that could happen in the book.
All the time. I remember going to Melissa and just going, "Hey, you're not there today," and she would like, "Where?" And then look down, and while she was looking at one side, I'd either get the name tag. I'm like, "Hey, where's your name tag?" And then while she was looking at her name tag, I'd get her her patch. And then if I think there was one week I got her so much that her initial response to seeing me was this, which would like push up her boobs. And then I was with who was it? Oh, never mind. I can't say names anyway. I was with the manager one day, and she saw me and immediately went like this, and her boobs popped up. And the manager's like, "You want to explain that to me?" And I'm like, "Not even a little." And we just had to keep walking.
Oh my god.
Uh,
So, one fun thing that we used to do, and I've told this before, but I think it's I hate it that this got ruined for us because the new CPs tried to emulate it and then ruined it for us. But we used to hide purple cards throughout the attraction. That was something that Josh started. First off, that wasn't you or I who started that one. So for
which
people
I'm disappointed in myself for that, but yes.
so for people who
I
don't
agree.
know, Eric and myself, along with Josh and Paul, we were known as the Four Horsemen of Some of All Thrills. Because when the four of us got together, or a combination of us got together, it would be the most entertaining day of those people's lives. But also, we would probably make them work a little harder.
We were the people that ever worked at Interventions together.
Yeah.
We were also the most terrible people to work with while we were together.
We were simultaneously the best and worst coworker you've ever had.
Yes.
And thankfully I've mellowed out significantly since then. Because I couldn't get away with any of that stuff, especially like, well, all right, we were kind of immature in the warehouse, but that was a warehouse, so I chalked that up. But even then, I wasn't nearly as bad as this. So for people who don't know, it's Some of All Thrills. It was a roller coaster simulator where you could program in the motion on the robot, and then the robot arm, designed by Raytheon, who also makes Scud missiles. So learning. Which is funny because the video they showed the kids showed them, working on race cars and things like that. They didn't show
like,
the.
I bet you work on missiles.
They didn't show Operation Desert Storm on there, so it was a little disappointed. Did you ever get the sarcastic dad who was like, I noticed in your video you guys didn't show any missiles being shot. You're at Disney, dumbass. I'm sorry, what'd you want them to show? So, oh god. The purple cards were designed so the kids couldn't go upside down. Because they had the height restriction, right? If you were 48 inches tall, you could go on the ride, but you had to be
52.
52 inches tall to let the robot go upside down. Because this wasn't a roller coaster with actual G-forces that would actually keep you in your seat. This was just a robot arm. So when it did this, you would slide up and possibly out if you were too small.
These are the same kind of arms that you see in movies that move around car parts.
Correct. It's actually exactly the same thing.
Yes. I want you to keep in mind when we tell you the story of how we broke some by putting people on it that were a little overweight.
That happened more than once. So
by the same people.
No names. So the purple cards were for the kids who could ride, and then the red cards would be the unlimited ones. So if the kid was tall enough to ride but not tall enough to go upside down, we'd give them a purple card. So that way they were safe. So Josh one day just started hiding them, because we would keep a couple in our pockets. That was actually something we would do in the morning when we would test the rides, is we would make rides ourselves, and then I always kept a couple in my pocket. So if there was a technical issue, if somebody's ride got screwed up, I had a couple in my pocket that I could choose from and give it to them. So I always had a purple card ride that was pretty intense in case it was a kid, and then I had 2 red card rides, an intense one for people who wanted that sort of thing, and then a red card ride that was good for the adults, but it also wouldn't go crazy or anything like that. So, because, there are adults who don't want to do stuff like that. Yeah. That's fine. So, we would carry stacks of these cards in our pockets, and then Josh just started hiding them. And I remember one day he'd be like, because he'd get that smile on his face. Same smile that you get. Same smile I probably get. When we're up to something, and we just did something, and we're proud of it, and we're being sneaky about it, but we haven't quite told you what it is yet. So there's Josh. He's got that look on his face. He goes, come here. Oh, boy. What's about to happen? What's up, buddy? So, I've hidden a purple card up here on the platform, and I want you to find it. Okay. That was a random thing to say, but okay. He goes, but you're not going to find it. Okay, well, now you've challenged me. So, you told me to find it, but now you said I'm not going to find it. So now I don't have a choice but to find it. So I'm looking everywhere, dude. I check all the obvious places, and he goes, no, it's in plain sight. You just have to find it. Okay. And I'm looking everywhere where I think he could possibly reach it. And he's going like, it's not in a spot that I can't reach without doing lockout tagout or something. It's not in the robot pit or something. It's not in an area that's going to be dangerous. It's somewhere where you could just walk around and find it, even while the robots are going off. I still can't find it. It's not in a locker. It's not in a robot. It's nowhere. It was under the mat, but the corner was sticking out. And when I say the corner, I mean let me find an example here. Something I can use. Okay, how about my phone? Here's a card. It was maybe this much there showing. Little purple corner. And he goes, I told you could see it. I said, you said it was in plain sight. He goes, it is. I just didn't tell you how much of it was in plain sight. You little smartass. Okay. So game on now. So now I have to now go and hide a purple card and a different part and make him find it. And then it just spiraled out of control.
It really did. There was one day I got up to the platform and I went, son of a bitch. I found the card and somebody was just like, where is it? And I pointed up because somebody had ninja starred it into one of the roof tiles. And I still don't know who the fuck did that.
I don't know who did that either. It was not me.
Was impressive.
If that was me, I would have owned up to that one immediately.
I just remember going, here we go, and looking up like this, and that's when I saw it. And I was just like, these motherfuckers are wild.
Well, what he did, what was really funny was he hid them behind the TV in the movie room. But he also would hide them in the panels, the panels up top, and you would just see little tiny slivers of cards hanging out. Or one day he got it into the paneling around the door. It was physically like in the wall, basically. So here's the problem. A group of young college program kids saw what we were doing, wanted to get in on it. They started doing it with red cards, which the reason we were doing it with purple was if a guest found it, they couldn't just hand it to their 49-inch tall kid and kill them. But now these kids are doing it with red cards. Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Yep.
And they weren't doing it subtly. Like, I remember there was one perched on the not the actual lever to pull for the fire alarm, but the actual alarm itself. There was just a card sitting on it. And they're like, oh, we hid the red card. I'm like, you didn't hide shit. And Frank could have found that.
Jesus.
I just watched Clerks 2. For people who don't understand that reference. If you don't get the joke, Randall thinks that Anne Frank is Helen Keller.
Yes. Well, Randall thinks a lot of things.
Randall's, oh my god. So, hiding
love
the
Randall,
cards
but
was...
sometimes I feel like I'm Randall.
So, yeah, hiding the cards was one of the things we did. Some of the other things we would do to amuse each other would basically be the race to try and get people off the platform as fast as possible and beat the other side.
Yes. The racer was a lot of fun because that's where I shut down. I don't talk to people and I'm just pushing and getting numbers.
And
then the one day that we were all caught up, and I know you remember this. I was like, "Hi guys, let's put all your stuff into this locker, and then then you stand over there, and we'll be good to go." And they were like, "No speaking English." I'm like, "Of course you don't. Good luck, buddy." And I handed you.
I remember that. I remember that.
Fucking classic.
Yeah, that's actually what you said to their face too. They're like, "No English." You said, "Of course you don't." And you patted me on the shoulder and said, "Good luck, buddy." I was so mad at you.
Because I was mad because I never give that spiel. I never give the spiel. Because everybody knows what those lockers are for. They're for putting your shit in there. For me to give that fucking spiel and you like, to get all the information. But I was just like, I got energy today, feeling good. And like, maybe I should try to do my job 100% right now.
Not only did he sleep, but he actually slept and had a monster.
I know.
That was a dangerous combination, by the way.
I had energy, and the spiel was great. And I looked at him, and no English, and like, fuck it, I'm never doing this again. That's all it took.
So, one thing that was funny about the race was that was something you could easily get other people in on. And the thing was, it wasn't even that we were rushing the guests or anything. That's an efficiency thing. The faster we get them on the ride and get them off, the more set up we are for the next group to come up. And I remember that was a big thing they used to say all the time, which this is actually something I always disagreed with from the management team, was that you should never be waiting for the guest should be waiting for you. And I'm like, no, I disagree with that. If we're waiting for them, that means they're getting right on. If they're waiting for us, that means we're moving slower than we should be. That was always one thing I always disagreed with the management team. Every time they brought it up, I would always fire back with that. File that under the other list of reasons why they weren't fans of me, but that's a whole
honestly,
different...
I don't think anybody should be waiting, period.
No,
that's how it should be.
Yeah, you go right up the stairs, you get on the ride. Like, that's efficiency. And then
we got to a point where, do you remember when somebody would fuck up at merge? Or not merge, pre-show?
We didn't have merge, but yeah, pre-show.
Yeah. When somebody would mess up at pre-show and they thought there was a show going, but that there was actually no show going, and then the room was completely empty.
Oh yeah, that happened a few times.
And we just platformed for like a good 10 fucking minutes.
Those were the best because then we were just chilling.
Yeah.
And laughing and making fun of them. So.
Yeah.
Because I remember you specifically. I'm trying to remember who you said this to, but it was somebody that we didn't mind. It was one of the girls who had a loud mouth that we didn't mind being a smartass to. I know that totally.
That was everybody.
Totally narrowed it down.
Know.
It wasn't like Katie or Jessica. It was somebody who we actually would have fun firing at. I can't remember who. I don't even have a guess, but I just remember that happened, and I see them loaded people in, and you're just like, "Hey, pre-show, how's it going down there? We're kind of starving up here for people. Anybody coming up anytime soon?" Just like, "Shut up, Eric. Shut up, Eric." And I just remember you wouldn't stop going, and I'm like pissing myself laughing because you were keeping a straight face and just stone faced giving them this lecture, and they're firing back at you. And of course, every guest in line can hear this exchange. It's not like we're being subtle about it.
No. Oh man, I gave people a lot of shit. I thought it was hilarious.
And of course, some of the best. Now, and I remember, shout out to poor Nolan, because Nolan wanted to be a Four Horseman so bad. That's why we made him the honorary fifth one. Because in the Four Horsemen pro wrestling stable, there actually were 5 of them at one point. So I said, no, this works. Nolan, you can be the 5th guy. That's fine. It's been done before. It doesn't fit the number scheme. And I remember, I think it was Richard was being the smartass about this. He goes, "You call it the Four Horsemen, but there's 5 of you, LOL." And I'm like, you don't get the reference, dude. You think you're being a smartass, but I knew what I was doing by having 5 of us in the picture.
Poor Richard. I'm surprised he managed to like work with us so long. Because I feel like
loved us.
He did, but I felt like we were gonna give him a heart attack sometimes.
No, but I think the thing with Richard is that he also appreciated us because we made the job fun. Because that's another thing. Like, we tell all these stories about messing around, but we actually worked. We did our job. And we did our job well. Like, you, me, Paul, Josh, Nolan, we worked. We were doing the job. We were doing everything we were supposed to be doing. We never compromised safety or anything like that.
No.
We were just having fun with it. We're trying to be entertaining and make people's jobs more interesting. And some people loved working with us, and other people probably dreaded it. And that's fine. That's on them.
I think it was Melissa down there that was yelling that shit too.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was her, because that would be somebody you would definitely fire at, and somebody who would yell back at you even louder. So, yeah. Melissa was like the mom of the attraction. Like, we were her kids.
Oh,
I remember she told us too. She goes, I don't get this much lip from my own kids. And we're like, yeah, well, here we are. So, some of the best times, because the platforms were designed for 3 people. There were always 2 people operating a robo, and then the third person took care of the lockers, getting the people situated, loading the rides, and getting all their stuff out of their pockets. Quick story about that. My favorite one all time was a kid that came up by himself, just a kid with a red card. And I said, all right, bud, I'm going to have you empty your pockets into the locker. Well, yeah, he emptied his pockets. This kid, who was probably like 11 or 12 years old, he had a Nintendo DS, a PSP, some form of smartphone. We're going back in time here. It was probably an iPhone. He had other stuff too. He had like what was the equivalent of a PDA, which I don't know why you would need that with all the other crap you had. He had all this other stuff, you know, plus a wallet, plus all this other crap, and he's just pocket, more stuff in this pocket. Then he's reaching into the back pockets. He's got more stuff. I'm like, this kid literally has more stuff in his pockets, like worth more than my net worth right now standing here.
Yeah, I felt that. Oh man, quite a few times working there.
And that was the other thing I used to tell everybody: take everything out of your pockets except for your card. Keep your card on you, because what would happen if they put the card in the locker and then they hit the button, Eric? We had to reload the ride.
Yep. And if they didn't have it, see, this is why I was kind of a dick. I always kept 2 cards on me, one purple, one red. The red card was my, you cool, I'm going to give you the double hammerhead, whatever. The purple, my friend, was the bobsled.
With like
no
straight. Yeah.
The straight.
Where you can make it the most boring.
To go up and down twice. The straight.
It was just, that was it. Yeah.
And it didn't move. And the thing was, like, it was supposed to go side to side, but you can drag it until it's nice and perfectly straight. And it won't do shit. It's fucking great.
So, yeah, I Pocket Kid. And then, of course, because there's cameras on the inside, so you can monitor the people and they can see each other. Of course, how many times you get the kids who'd flip off the camera, and then we had to lecture them. The one that got me were the two teenagers where I told them 3 times to knock it off and they weren't doing it, so I actually like took them off the ride, and they were like, they're like, I don't understand. Like, do we need to leave? And I don't remember which manager it was. It was one of the cool managers. I was like, can you just explain to them why I did this? I wasn't going to kick them out because I always felt like that would just cause more problems in the long run. But I wanted them to get a lecture about why they were being idiots and why they were now being made to wait as I put other people on the ride around them. So I explained that to the manager, and then he basically told them what was up, and they're like, okay. And then, of course, the next time I put them on the ride, they're like, yes, sir. Of course, sir. No problem, sir. I'm like, how embarrassed do you have to be like a 14 or 15-year-old kid and like go back to your parents and be like, well, how's the ride? Well, we got kicked off. Because there are some parents, yes, there would definitely be parents who would try to blame that on us, but there would be some parents who'd be like, you did what? You dumbass. Like, well, you deserve it. Let's go.
They're just kids being kids, and just like, yeah, well, fuck them. Fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids. Well, these were teenagers, so especially, like, because you know how kids are. Kids are in like that cute phase for only a certain amount of time, and then they become too much of a smartass, and you're just like,
you know what's
this
like,
is where it starts.
Little kids are very respectful until they reach a certain age, and then it's like, I don't know what it is. It's like 10 to 18. You're just an asshole.
I'm sure we were too, to be perfectly fair. I'm sure we were assholes when we were that age.
Yes. But when you're by yourself, you're fine. But the more like the collective unit of 18 to like 10 to 18-year-olds fucking suck.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So some of my favorite moments that ever happened at Interventions were when you would get 3 of us on a platform together. If it was you, me, and Josh, or me, Josh, and Paul, or you, me, and Paul. And I'm sure if it was the 3 of you, it was just as good of a time. And then Nolan would get mixed in, and he would always be laughing. Nolan had the best laugh. I actually remember Nolan's laugh because he had such a fun, unique laugh. And I always remember how much he would laugh just watching us be ourselves. Because he wanted to be with us. And because I remember, always felt bad for Nolan because he was surrounded by too many other people in Interventions that were just the jaded older cast members who didn't care about their jobs and were only there for health insurance and retirement perks and got by with the bare minimum. And then here come these 4 assholes who all have experience elsewhere in Disney. I mean, I did Safari, you were Fantasyland, Paul was Disneyland. Like, Paul was new to Disney World, but he'd worked there, and Josh came from monorails. And he's just like, oh shit, here's 4 guys who actually, like, know what they're doing and are having fun with it. Yeah, I'm going to hang out with those guys. We were those guys. We really were.
That's true. We were the only options, too.
Yeah. I always remember, like, immediately being like, this is going to be my best friend here, but then also, like, somewhat hating you because you were higher in seniority than me and you transferred over. So I got bumped down a peg for vacation time.
Do you, like, okay, when you took into account, like, all of the, not presenters, but if you took off the presenters because they were, like, way up in the seniority,
I couldn't compete with them. Good God.
Yeah. Cut them off the list and then cut off the people who could only do hosting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, only hosting. My seniority was 2.
Yeah.
I was number 2. And Melissa was pissed about it because it was Richard, then me.
And Richard was only part-time.
Yeah.
So you were number 1 full-time for that. I do remember specifically for Sum of All Thrills, the only people ahead of me were you, Melissa, and Allie. You were the only ones ahead of me. Because Kelly got full-time the same day I did. But for some reason, I was listed above her, and I actually didn't think that was fair because she had been part-time longer than me, but I think they actually factored in my CP time.
They took what they do if you got hired on the same day, whoever's got the lower Perner number gets the seniority.
Well, that's dumb.
Yep.
Well, I didn't say it was going to be a good reason. So I'm going to tell the story. You know what story it's going to be. You're going to start laughing when I tell it. And Paul, we love you. But this is easily the best story of the three of us on a platform together. Was the day we all tried to ER, and Paul messed up his ER. And so for people who don't know, an ER is an early release, and there was a thing you could do on the system, because it was an automated system, because how are you going to control a park with 64,000 employees? You need something automated. You really did. And if you wanted to go home early for the day, you could request. So let's say you're working I don't even remember what the shifts really were back then. What was our starting shift for
First one in was you either had a 6 or a 7, depending on EMH, because we still have our EMH. Yeah, EMH.
extra
Because
magic hours?
you would have to be out there to prevent people from coming in.
Right.
That would be the 6 o'clock start. If not, then it was 7 o'clock. Right. And then that would be 7 to 3. That's your 8-hour shift. And then you got people who left at 7:30, but would come in like 10 or 11.
9, 10-ish. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember I worked a lot of like 8 to 4:30s was a pretty common shift for me.
Yeah.
And what I remember specifically was that because it was just some, even though there were lots of other seniority people, because it was just based on Sum of All Thrills, generally if I wanted an ER, I was going to get it. Because I was fourth in line for seniority. Most of the time. Nolan was ahead of me too, but Nolan hosted a lot. So like if Melissa was hosting and Nolan was hosting, or you were coordinating, then I was almost pretty much at the top of the list. So if I really just wanted to go home early, and let's be honest, when we were young Disney cast members, that happened a lot, and you knew this was going to happen, so you might as well have left the door open. Just saying.
Yeah.
But so there were a lot of days when I decided to put it in, and there were some days I just put it in to see if I would even get it. And I remember this particular day I put in, and I believe it was our old friend coordinator Bob, and he was always the funniest one because he would approve it immediately. So like I literally put it in, and I had barely left the station, and I just hear all right, Chris, I'm gonna say goodbye to you now because I won't see you at 1 o'clock when you leave. And I was like, oh, fantastic. So I run into you, and I'm like, I got an ER. And you're like, oh, that's cool. You know what? I think I'm going to put one in too. And then you put one in, and you got it approved immediately. So Paul is like, well, shit, if you guys are all going home, I'm going to try to put in two, because apparently it was one of those extremely rare days when we were super overstaffed, so they were just letting people go. It was one of the days like nobody called off, and all the CPs were there. So there was lots of room to play with schedules. It was going to be one of those days where we were going to have 12, 13 people tasking at once. So they were letting us go for ERs. So Paul goes to put in an ER. But Paul messed up his time. So I think what we were doing was we were trying to leave at 1300, right?
Right, which is 1 o'clock. Not to mention that you have to put in, there's like a drop down box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you pick your hour and then you pick your minutes. What I think happened, I think he never dropped down the hour box. I think he just dropped down the minute box.
Yeah. All he did was ER like an hour earlier, or like a half hour earlier, and basically all he did was lose his last 15-minute break. And he was really mad about that because he got it approved and he couldn't figure out why you still had a lunch until he realized what time you put it in for. And then he went to go to the computer, but he ended up getting an assignment, so he had to come back out into rotation and he couldn't fix it. So you and I are up on platform. Each of us are at a robo, and he's relieving the grouper. And he stomps up the stairs. Now, he's smiling the whole time this is happening. He comes up the stairs, and he's like, ugh. Like, what's wrong, Paul? What's wrong? What's wrong is I'm a fucking idiot. That's what's wrong. And keep in mind, there are guests up here, and he's saying all this really loud. He's like, I'm a fucking idiot. That's why I put it in for 14:30. So I'm leaving at 2:30. I only lost an hour. I lost my last break. What the hell was even the point? I'm so fucking dumb. Give me your card. He like rips the card out of the guest's hand in line. He does this whole thing in like one breath. And I remember you and me just look at each other and we just start laughing because Paul's losing his mind. He's like slamming the locker door shut. Granted, he's smiling
so
about
funny.
it, but he was so mad. And then the whole time we're just giggling like idiots. And we're like, Paul, it's okay. I'm sure they can fix it. I know they can fix it. It's not the point. God, I'm stupid. Like, oh man, we were crying laughing. That was so
the day
funny.
that I messed with Melissa. I've mentioned her a lot this episode. We should like tag her in this or something.
You better tag her in this when you're done.
So the whole she requested an ER but she didn't want me to approve it until after she had her lunch. So I waited for her to have her lunch. While she's on lunch, she comes back and asks me for an ER and says, I can't do it. You waited too long. I could have done it before, but since you told me to wait till after your lunch, they're telling me no. And she's like really fucking furious. She's so pissed. And she's like, I can't believe you. And in my head is like, I'm just waiting for you to clock back in because I can't change your time while you're at lunch. Like that's literally the entire thing. But I can't, I'm just like, I just wanted to see her reaction. And her reaction was
priceless.
Fucking perfect. It was perfect. Yes. It was HR worthy. It was HR worthy. And I'm just like, this is awesome. Like I got her so angry and she was upset. She was pissed. And then immediately she clocked in, got a position, got somebody to like come back. And then as she's walking out the door, I just like, and approve. Like, and she literally asked for an ER like right then and there. Like she wanted to go home right away, but she also wanted her lunch. Basically, she just wanted to eat and then go home. So I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but yeah. So the next person to sign in is like, didn't Relisa just sign in? I got her bump out. I'm like, yeah. Like, but you just told her that she wasn't getting her ER. And I was like, yeah. Why? Yeah, just to fuck with her. She's like, you're so mean. Like, yeah. She came in so still angry. She's like, what's this? I'm just like, your ER. You said I couldn't have it. I'm like, I say a lot of things.
Because now she knows you got her.
Yeah. Because I think the fact that she at that moment she realized that I just said that shit just to piss her off. Just to make her mad. And that made her even more mad, but she was also very happy that she got her ER. So I like mixed her emotions and she didn't know what to feel. She said, fuck you, but thank you. Like it was great. Yeah. Anyway, I love doing that shit.
So of course, because I can tie everything. I can tie a story in every time. It reminds me of one of my all-time favorite Vince McMahon stories. By far, one of my all-time favorites was they're at his house, his giant palatial mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut. And when they would do writing for television, they would all sit out by the pool. It's on like nice days, which I'm sure in Northern Connecticut doesn't have a lot of nice days, but you know, you got to work with it here too. And it's the writers are Jim Cornette and Bruce Pritchard, who were two of like the main guys at the time. And they said all of a sudden Vince gets up and disappears into his office to go take a phone call. And when he does that, they can't work anymore because you can't work while Vince isn't there. So, and he'll be gone for like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes on these private phone calls. So they're just outside enjoying the weather. And the late Pat Patterson comes over, one of the wisest men ever in wrestling history, who had a big, French-Canadian accent. He would mix up his singulars and his plurals a lot, so people would always make fun of him for that. But him and Vince were like super tight. So he comes over and he's hanging out with them, but Vince doesn't know that he's there. And like an hour goes by, he's like, fuck, where is this guy? Coming out or what? And they're like, yeah, dude, he's been in there for a while. He goes, well, I'm going to get him. Watch this. And he goes and he disappears. Out comes Vince, doesn't know that Pat's there, just sits back down. He's like, all right, pal, let's get back to work. They're writing again. So what Pat did was he went over to the Mexican ground crew that was there, grabbed one of their leaf blowers, and brought it around to the hedges on the outside of the pool and starts using it. So Vince is all disgusted because now here comes the guy with the leaf blower on the other side. All morning he's been out the other part of the yard. Now he's here. So Vince is like, doing like the disgusted look, like, great, now this guy's right on top of us making noise. So he's talking and everything. And every time Vince is talking, Pat's revving up the leaf blower and getting it louder and louder. And then Vince is, doing and he keeps talking and he revs it up even louder. And now he's sticking it through the bush. So now the air's coming through and it starts blowing all the papers and everything. They said, they're like, yeah, Vince is looking over going, hey, amigo, por favor, trying to communicate to this guy. So he revs the thing up full speed and blasts everything off the table. Everything goes everywhere. Vince's hair's messed up and everything. And they said he got up and he does the Mr. McMahon power walk on the other side. He's gonna go kick this guy's ass. Hey, amigo! And then he realizes it's his buddy with a big smile on his face. And as soon as he realized he got him, they say he just starts horse laughing. Because how can you even be mad about that? Because they got him.
Yeah.
Apparently, another thing about the pool is Vince loved to push people inside of it, fully clothed. That was his favorite thing. Thankfully, this is the 90s. So nobody was carrying iPhones on them, but still. He said, Cornette said he got him really bad. He said, he's like, they're wrapping up at the end of the day, and Bruce goes, hey, can you believe that Vince has that painted on the bottom of the pool? He's like, what are you talking about? It says it right there. So Cornette walks over and looks in, and he says it's just the 6-foot marker on the pool. He goes, well, that's just... And before he can finish the sentence, boom, Vince pushes him right into the pool. And he said now he's soaking wet. All his clothes are his clothes are soaking wet, and he's got to drive home. And he said, it's brisk out at night in the spring. So he's just like, what am I supposed to do? And Vince is like, come here, pal, I'll take care of you. And he gave him this suit jacket that was I'm sure a guy like Vince giving you a suit jacket, it was a straight jacket. It's like, don't worry, pal, just go ahead and keep it. But he thought that was the funniest shit in the world. Hello to Damon Power, who is now watching. If you would like life advice from Eric, this is a good time to ask, because we're doing life advice on this show. So, oh boy. But yeah, that reminds me of when it comes to favorite Disney stories, though, one of my all-time favorites still happened at Safari. This is one of those moments when I just gave up, because there was nothing I could say at this point. So, on the tour, the mandrill monkeys, if people don't know what a mandrill is, Rafiki from The Lion King. The mandrills are off to the left, and one of the bull elephants is off to the right. Now, the problem we had with the mandrill monkey is the male was a rapist. He would quite literally grab the females, throw them up against the rocks, do his thing, and literally toss them and go after another one. And this happened quite a few times in full view of the guests, which most people got a kick out of because, it's Disney and they're watching nature at work. And then, of course, there's the bull elephant on the other side. When the bull elephant was in a really good mood, he had 5 legs. That happened a lot. Way too often. And people would giggle about that. Because what else are you going to giggle about at Disney, right? And then you have cats who I want to see him make this jump.
Oh, no.
Come on.
Come on.
You got this. You got this. Come on, kitty. Or is that Kiri? Which one is that?
That's Kiri.
Okay.
She can make the jump.
Is she going to do it? Don't leave me in suspense now. Kiri. Stop looking at the ceiling. I'm rooting for her.
Maybe if I lean back a little bit like this.
She's going to do it.
Nope. Now she's just sitting on my head. Okay.
Well, at least she's not sitting on your head. She's contemplating it. She's trying. Come on, Kiri. You can. Oh, come on. Don't give up.
Maybe if I move a little closer. I just don't want to. Okay, hold on.
This is
I'll
too,
try to move a
this is
little
too
closer.
dramatic.
This is like
This is
fucking
too,
stealing the show.
this is build up.
Okay,
I demand payoff to this angle. Carrie?
She could definitely make that. Come on, you got this. Damn, actually, that's a hell of a jump. I don't think I could have made it.
No. Cats are way more athletic than you or I will ever be. But that's not the point. Okay, so here's what happens at this safari story. Thankfully, we're talking about animals now. So one day, I'm driving, truck full of guests, 36 people or so, and the mandrill's on one side, having his way, making noise, and the elephant right up against the side of the road in the best mood ever, and he's also taking a giant dump. So I have a 5-legged elephant taking a dump, and a mandrill contemplating nature on the other side. Every guest on the truck is roaring with laughter, including the children. Because if they're not laughing at the sex, they're laughing at the poop. So I just shut off my microphone and just kept driving. Because at that point, I had nothing more I could contribute to the conversation. And then the other favorite day was the day the rhinos went apeshit. And because if you just get a little bit of a drizzle going, not enough rain that the animals run and hide, but enough that they want to frolic in it. And you know that's rare in Florida because it's either on or off. But you get just the right amount of rain, you get the best shows. And the rhinos are taking off all over the place. And one of them hit my friggin' truck, which everybody thought was awesome. I'm like, everybody okay back there? And I hear this kid go, this is the best ride ever. Okay, well, he's fine. But the rhinos were freaking out and running all over the savannah. And this was the first day they put the bontebok back on show. An animal that is extinct in the wild. So the only place you see them are in reserves. So they're freaking out now. And now the trainers are freaking out because they don't want the bontebok to get friggin' killed by a rhino. And you can't just stop the rhinos in their path. So I got rhinos to the left of me, bontebok to the right of me, and the ostrich, stupidest animal on the planet, is standing there with its wings out like this, stomping up and down with its beak hanging open, and it doesn't know what to do. It's literally running in place. And I'm laughing at that because nobody else even noticed the ostrich. And I'm laughing my ass off because that is the dumbest goddamn animal on the planet. And everybody's watching the show. I'm like, this is funny because what else am I gonna say at that point?
Oh, jeez.
It's literally it's practically spinning in circles. Yeah, you can't predict what animals are going to do.
No, you cannot.
And then, of course, there was the day that one of the girls, I won't say her name because I'd probably embarrass her, although I don't think she'd be watching this anyway, but announced that one of the cheetahs was a 96E, which is our code for escape. The cheetah had not escaped. Oh my God. It's just that they're never this visible, so it looked like it got over the ravine. And she panicked and called that in, so they had to clear the safari and send the wardens out to wrangle a cheetah that they realized they didn't have to. So she didn't, get in trouble for that, but damn, did we have a field day with that one.
Oh, my God.
The best part was the call on the radio. I have a cheetah that's 96E. You hear silence for a second. Which animal did you say was 96E? And for the love of God, do not say it was the cheetah. Because apparently it happened once before. The cheetah actually did get out because a tree fell over the ravine and the cheetah walked across it. But because these animals are contained, when it got to the other side, it didn't know what to do, so it just sat there. So it was a very easy containment. But still, there was panic. Lots and lots of panic. And
that's a Jurassic Park moment. For the love of God, please don't say it's a raptor.
Which dinosaur got out, and for the love of God, do not say it was the raptor. Well, what'd you like me to say it was? So that was an adventure. Could write a whole book on it. Maybe I'm doing that about animal stories. But the dumbest animal on the safari was the helmeted guinea fowl. If anybody out there wants to know what a helmeted guinea fowl is, the scene in The Lion King in the Circle of Life where there's a bunch of birds running under the elephant and one almost gets crushed, those are helmeted guinea fowl. And in the wild, they actually will stick around with elephant flocks. That's something that they're just known for. They like to hang around herds of elephants. So when Safari first opened, they got like 20, 25 helmeted guinea fowl, and they put them out with the elephants. Then they moved them into the forest at the beginning because the elephants kept stepping on them. So they eliminated like half the guinea fowl, and they're like, all right, we'll just move them. Then the guinea fowl just kept doing other stupid stuff, like drowning. Because these semi-flightless birds that can fly when they want to, but they just don't, would just wade into water and then just drown. So there were multiple times when they'd have to fish a guinea fowl out of a puddle. Because you know how they would put puddles out in the safari to like wet the tires and everything on the trucks? Yeah, they were drowning in those puddles. They're just drowning in puddles. I'm just watching your cats run back and forth right now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. They're like chasing each other.
If mine weren't locked out of this room right now. See, I need peace and quiet when I record shows, especially when we're live, but, you know.
Listen, I tried, and then immediately, as soon as I closed the door...
I know. I was watching. By the way, everybody, go to CKCC Video on YouTube. Subscribe, by the way. And watch the clip from my latest stream where my cat screams into the microphone. I sent Eric that clip before we started recording.
We should send the... we should clip 2 of these events. The one at the start where Kiri wanted to get out, and then the jump.
No, and then when she wants to get back in.
That
jump was good. That jump was good. I'm giving her credit. That jump was good. I'm going to try to get the webcam going on the PS5 streams because now if Lily appears again, and she will, I want the moment captured on camera. I have audio evidence, but... Oh, I played that clip for her, and she just gave it the side eye like, what is that noise coming out of your iPad right now? Hey, that's you, sweetheart. That's you being yourself. But as far as like animal stories go, these stupid guinea fowl. So one of them one day jumped into one of my coworkers' trucks. My poor coworker Josh, not Josh, but another Josh. All this weird stuff always happened to him. He was always like one of those guys who was always in an unfortunate place when things happen. Like the day the monkeys got out and they had to wrangle one away from him because its tail was like right here. I'm like, how does this always happen to you? Specifically you. But the guinea fowl, there were 3 of them when I first started. Then there were 2 because the last one drowned. They would follow each other, and that was the only animal that wasn't smart enough to move when the truck showed up. So here was the rule. You would get 10 feet from the animal. Generally, most of the animals realized there's a truck trying to get through, and they would move. If they didn't move... And you would call that in. You'd call it in on your radio. You would say, hey, I'm stopped for a giraffe in East Savannah. Stopped for a giraffe in East Savannah. And then they go, okay, 10-4, call us back if they don't move. Or make sure you're 10 feet away, call us back if they don't move. Okay. So, again, they don't move. You call it in. Okay, it's been 30 seconds, hasn't moved. Now they'll call animal programs in to come move the animal. Because you'll hold up the whole safari that way.
Yeah.
So the guinea fowl were the only animal that wouldn't do that, and they would go under your truck tires. So you would have to stop and then try to make sure that they were clear. So I'm like having guests like lean out the side of the car. I'm like, can anybody see if the birds came out yet so I can keep going, or... We're going to be stuck here for a while. And by the way, getting stuck on Safari wasn't a bad thing if you were in a good spot. There was one time my show clocked in at 47 minutes and 47 seconds exactly. And you were supposed to keep it under 20. But we were stopped out there for a long time. Fortunately, I had like giraffes and wildebeest and gazelle. I was in a good spot. A lot of animals to walk around. And I flat out told the guests, I said, there's a truck stopped up ahead for an ostrich, which wasn't a lie. Because half the time you got stuck, it was because of the fucking ostrich. One of them laid an egg in the middle of the road one time. They called it in. And they're like, I'm stopped for an ostrich. And they said, okay, let me know if it's when it moves. And come back. They go, okay, well, it moved, but now there's an egg in the road. They're like, son of a bitch. So they had to come out and get animal programs to move the egg. You can't predict live animals, man. You just can't predict what they're going to do. You
Oh,
know,
that's hilarious.
when you do it at different times of the day, you start to learn like which ones are going to be active at which times, when you're going to get the best show, and you kind of figure out where they like to hang, so you kind of know where you're looking for them. There were the one antelope would always sit in the trees right at the start of the savannah. So while everybody's going nuts looking at the giraffes, which we're going to get to when we go around the turn, I would always try to direct their attention to the left side of the truck because I knew we were going to pass Patterson's elands and I wanted them to see them. And I'm like, folks, we're going to get to the giraffes in a second, but check these guys out because this is the only time you're going to see them. Because they don't want to be seen. So, but yes, the live animals were fun. And since Halloween is right around the corner, Eric, and I want to close the show on a good note, please tell me about the thing you learned about the dolls in It's a Small World.
Oh my goodness.
You have to tell that story live because I need live reactions.
Okay, so
first of all, It's a Small World is creepy enough as it is.
It really is.
You're never going to ride it again after this story.
It's training day for me. We're doing our little tour of everything, and they take me along the back to show me the entire process. It's really cool. It's been around since like the World Fair type of thing.
Yeah,
right?
it's an OG ride. It's been there pretty much since the beginning, and that's another thing that I think people don't appreciate about working at Disney is like all that cool behind the scenes stuff we got to do, and the rides we got to do with the lights on, like Everest with the lights on, was really cool. Dinosaur with the lights on is so lame when you realize there's only half a Carnotaur chasing you. But
so part of this tour, we're going through the back, and you get to see like how things work and the kind of maintenance that goes along with these, with running these rides. And then it is a boat ride for those of you that don't know. There is a section where, you could take the boat off the ride. That way the maintenance team could do whatever they need to do on the boats. And then these giant hooks that I can only say I've seen in horror movies.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That you're just like, this is not Small World. This is terrifying. It's like a scene out of Jaws. But I'm like, okay, that's cool. Just whatever. It's creepy, but I get it. Maintenance rooms aren't really supposed to be all flashy or whatnot. But then we go in there and they start spitting out facts and stuff like that. Like, this concept's been around since this date and yada, yada, yada. And then they're like, the maintenance team comes and does this every day. The cosmetology team comes over and makes sure that all the dresses and stuff like that are good and everything is good. And they have to come in every once in a while to trim the hair off the dolls. And I was like, they do what now? And like, yeah, cosmetology has to come in every once in a while and trim the hair off the dolls because it grows. I'm like, it does what now? the Small World dolls, like, they come in. I just want to make sure that I'm getting this right because what you said when I hear, I just want to make sure. So you're saying these people, they come in to work on these dolls, the not living fake dolls, hopefully, that they come in and trim the hair because it grows. That's what you're saying. And they're like, yeah. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not sure I want to work.
I don't think I want to work here.
Like, a matter of fact, I wish I didn't do this fucking tour. Like, I wish you didn't tell me that shit. I'm not okay with that at all.
So the real reason is because the hair expands in the humidity.
So yeah. So the real reason, and they probably should have led with this, but like I kind of appreciated them telling me that the way they did.
They knew what they were
just
doing.
like,
they knew exactly what they were doing when they told you that story.
Yeah, it is a water ride.
I'm having fun watching your cat go ape
shit. A lot of humidity, and that humidity causes the yarn to kind of stretch and expand, and it doesn't look as fluffy as they would want it. So it causes them to grow.
Right.
So they would trim that off And then once it gets to a certain point, they would replace it. So it's not like ever growing hair, but they would replace it. But again, once you replace it, it's going to do the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So they would go in and trim to make sure everything's looking nice. But if they don't, if they never would have told me that, I don't think I ever would have worked at Fantasyland. I would have been like, you can
That would have been the
keep your
least of your
spooky fucking
problems
job.
at Fantasyland, based on stories you've told.
Yeah, that's true. But also, like, that was my first day. So if your first day they told you, hey, these creepy ass dolls, somebody's got to come in and trim the hair because it grows. I'm like, well, that ain't gonna be me. I'm not gonna be nowhere near these fucking
Who's
dolls.
that? Oh, that's Reverend whoever. He's the local exorcist. Occasionally the dolls come to life, so we just have to perform. I'm like, now we're gonna stop right there.
Yeah, right. Like, I thought about going back to the hiring center and be like, you know what, food and beverage doesn't sound too bad. I'll go back to I'll do food and beverage.
It's like when they came up with
God I didn't do that.
It's like when they came up with Kingdom Keepers. It's like, yeah, all the stuff comes to life in the park at night. I'm like, oh, what a cool concept. I'm like, wait a minute. Time out a second. Concept. Wait, what comes to life at night? Specify what specifically we're talking about, because if I'm not going near Small World if everything's coming to life at night. And didn't you say you saw dolls with like their faces removed and everything? Like just like the exoskeleton.
The way they get the dolls to dance is like really primitive technology, right? It's just like levers and
stuff that was built in the 60s, basically.
Yeah. So imagine it's not a full doll because they have to put those sticks somewhere, right? So they're like empty cavities. But when you go around the backside of a smiling and you see machinery that will kill you, like it probably will kill you. And then they're just like, oh, the hair grows. Yeah, now fuck that. Like,
no, this is a nope. This is all nopes.
This is all nopes.
This is all nopes. It's on my Plex server, by the way.
There is one. You should see it. I don't know if you would
see what. Wait, what is this that you want me to see?
Nope.
Okay.
You should also see the back of Small World, but
no. No, we're not doing that. I'm fine with
doll.
Well, I'm fine with horror movies because that shit ain't real. You put me behind the scenes at Small World, I'm less fine.
There's one doll I don't know how they get it to work. So I can't tell you which room it is, but I could like tell you what the doll looks like. There's a one where it looks like they're in a hot air balloon and it goes up and down.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Okay. That doll also dances.
Okay.
You want to tell me how? Because I don't fucking know. Because that basket is a basket. It's not anything special. So and that machinery is heavy. Like the machinery that they use to make these dolls dance, you couldn't pick up. So I'm just like, okay, you're gonna remain a secret because I don't want to know. Like I thought I wanted to know that shit back there. I didn't. So turns out, be careful what you wish for.
So the big question is, of course, so how does this one work? And they just look at you, go, oh well, we can't reveal that secret. Why not? You wouldn't believe us if we told you.
No, I think. Okay, so when I was working at
Watch, it's probably like the lamest thing ever. It's on like a slinky or something, and that's all it's doing is just rocking because the hot air balloon's moving.
Oh, you could be. Yeah, that could be it. Because if that thing's just going up and down because of the hot air balloon, and it's just like a really weird bobblehead doll type of thing because of that movement, that could work. I could see that.
Have you ever seen a Furby without its skin?
That's what the dolls look like.
I would imagine. That's what I have pictured in my head as you're explaining this. I'm thinking about that time I saw a Furby with like its face taken off. And it looked like a T.
Yeah.
And I was like, and yeah, the T-1000 in the first Terminator movie was actually terrifying when you're a kid. But that that's a nope all the way. And then somebody's playing Grand Theft Auto 5 that just popped up on my thing here
nice. You know what I found out about Terminator actually? I know we're like Oh, I'm way past the 9 o'clock limit. Crap. I
You
should
need
go
to go
after
to
this.
you need to go to bed, bud.
I really do. But real quick, the 15-second smash from the Terminator, that rendering time took 10 days.
Jesus.
It took 10 days for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And you can now do that in under 2.
Mm-hmm.
Not 2 days, under 2 seconds.
Right. But of course, at the same time, look how long it takes for certain frames to render in some of those computer animated movies because of how detailed they are. I mean, hell, even Brave, just moving Merida's hair around was like ridiculous. So, all right. So some quick plugs as far as this Twitch stream here goes. Schedule is kind of staying the same. We're doing a little bit of a swap over this week. Dan's D&D game moved to Wednesday, so I'm moving Super Nintendo Melee to Thursday, and Wednesday I'm going to do another PS5 stream. No clue what I'm playing yet, but I'm going to attempt to get my PS5 to register the webcam. Not this one. I have the old webcam. It's a Logitech one, and I know that they prefer their Sony webcams, but I'm going to try. And if I fail, I fail. Whatever. Like, I'll just put the microphone up there and hope Lily makes another cameo. What I kind of want to do is, since you and I aren't really doing Park Hopper anymore, we've kind of focused on this. I want to start bringing some Park Hopper topics back to this show. So how about next week we revisit the Magic Kingdom, Eric? And let's give everybody... No.
Okay.
We're not going backstage and It's a Small World, but let's go back to the Magic Kingdom. And let's give our official ranking on Magic Kingdom attractions.
I like it.
Let's see how many people we piss off when we do that. When we talk about a ride that they love that we don't like. So I'm sure there's going to be one of them. But
I mean, Country Bear Jamboree sucks, dude.
Don't blow the spot for next week.
All right.
Look, we have to make sure that Katie and Kyle are watching live before we do this, because we want them to react in the chat. Everybody who chatted with us, we thank you guys for tuning in. And Damon Power, he didn't ask for specific advice, but he just wants random advice, Eric. So think of some random life advice for him, and I'll wrap up the plugs real quick. Keep supporting the podcasting channel CKCC Radio and the YouTube channel CKCC Video. The game streams have been going really well. We're going to try to do Among Us again because that video was really popular, and it's amazing what's popular. Apparently people really like us attempting to kill each other and lie about it. So a Saturday night coming up in October, we're going to bring that back. It just can't be the last 2 Saturdays because I'm going to be away, and that's another thing. There will be definitely 1, potentially 2 weeks without programming in October because I will be on the road, and I won't be able to do the podcast. Maybe Eric can just fly solo.
I could try. I could make a little sock puppet and kind of dress it up as you or something. And I'd be like, hello! And it would just have a one-person show over here.
I mean, that would make me laugh. That would definitely make me laugh. I'd probably question a lot of things afterwards, but it would make me laugh. You should just record. just get up from the chair and just record the cats on the tree for 2 hours.
I could do that.
I'm telling you, dude.
Already...
Podcats. We need to make podcats a thing. You can find me on all the socials. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where I'm now actually active for some reason, and I don't know why, but I'm now posting TikToks, so, I don't know, go there and watch them and like them and stuff.
All right, advice. Check your tire pressure, because I know you haven't checked it in a while.
Gee, Eric, is that possibly related to anything in real life?
Yeah. No. Yes. I did pop my tire not too long ago.
We talked about that last week, yeah.
Yeah.
Just random wacko Warner that I have here on my desk.
Don't eat yellow snow.
That's good advice. Here's a Grogu.
When was the last time you got your oil changed?
I just did. I got my
car. You want to know good advice? Really good advice. You know how you have a trip A and a trip B?
Yes.
Every time you get an oil change, set your trip B to 0. That way, whenever it hits the 5,000, you know it's time for the next one.
That's
You
actually
never have to
exactly
worry
what
about
I
it.
do. But yeah,
And now,
that's good advice.
and you never have to put that nasty ass fucking sticker on your windshield.
Yeah, well, they do it anyway, so.
Yeah, I know. But pissing me off.
Well, I mean, I got my oil changed for free, but I sunk a lot more money into the car because I needed to get a trip ready for Florida. Halloween Horror Nights is coming up. I will come back with you guys with a full-on review. That week there will be no streams from me. Dan's gonna have to cover, or maybe Eric can jump in. Eric, tell the folks about Sick Minds.
Sick Minds, Matt and Eric. We've been posting it on the Facebook group. We've been posting it on Discord. You can just look up Sick Minds of Matt and Eric on YouTube. Me and Matt have been talking about like different animes and video games that we've enjoyed. We're kind of doing a playthrough of Soul Hackers 2.
Okay.
I haven't played in a couple of days, trying to give him a couple of days for him to like catch up to where I was at because I felt like I was way farther ahead. But now I think it might be the opposite. I haven't talked to him about it, but we're trying to stay on the same page so you can experience what we're experiencing through the game as it happens. So we're not actually playing the game; we're talking about it, but you can hear the passion in there. It's kind of fun.
That's actually kind of cool. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do for my series of Halloween streams just yet in October. I'm looking at the vintage games, but I did just get The Last of Us and Days Gone, both of which I've never played before. So I'm looking forward to those. Those are going to be included. I also have Dead Island, the Goosebumps game, the Friday the 13th game on PS5, well, PS4. And then I'm going to do some of the vintage stuff. So the NES games I was looking at included Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, which I know is awful, Maniac Mansion. There is a Dracula and a Frankenstein game on NES. I haven't started looking at the Game Boy library yet, but I'm going to look at some vintage horror stuff. Not that there'll be that much horror from back then. But then if anybody can think of anything like unconventional that would make for a good Halloween game, and not like those weird Xbox 360 games where from Burger King where like the king ran around and trick-or-treating or whatever the hell that shit was. He ran around and snuck up on people. Although I still think that's a funny concept for a game. Yeah, so if you want to... You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at Chris O'Mealy. I'm no longer going for clever handles because what the hell? I'm also on PS5, C O'Mealy 17, and I'm on Switch, but you know it's Nintendo, so you have to do the code gimmick. So you'll have to just contact me to get the friendship code because I don't think there's a way to just search.
No, I know you can post it, but you can only have so many friends anyway. So
Yeah, that's true. But well, that's the same thing on PlayStation too, but it doesn't really make a difference.
there's a limit on how many friends you can have on the PlayStation Network.
I think so. There was on Xbox, so I have no idea. I don't know. But I'm gonna try to get some more stuff set up. And I appreciate everybody for watching the Wheel of Fortune stream. That was a ton of fun. A lot of interaction in the chat, and of course I had to clip Lily screaming into the microphone because obviously. Well, Disney controversy next week for sure. And don't see Jane Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie because it was fucking awful and I regret watching it. I'll end there. Eric, any last words?
Be excellent to one another.
That's always the way to end it. See you guys next week.